What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Week of Minecraft. So I figured we'd open up the episode with opening the the Elven Gateway. So I think we have enough mana built up in these now. We have almost half a pool, give or take a little bit, of course. And I think we're in pretty much good shape. So why don't we go for it? Yep. Cool. So that drained a pretty big chunk, but now that this is here, this is done. It's open, we don't have to worry about it anymore. It's one of the nice things about these, the way they've re-implemented them in Britannia, is that you no longer have to worry about keeping these full. All you have to worry about is having some mana in here whenever you do a trade. So now, that leaves us all sorts of stuff that is left for us to do, and my favorite thing about Akashic Tome is that I can still do this. And it gives me back my Akashic Tome with the Elven Guard stuff in there. I love this. It's so well compatible. Like, it's one of the nicest compatibilities I think I've ever seen, honestly. So, yeah. Now, we're at a point where we have run out of coal. So, in there at least. There's still tons that we can do, but I think there's a few other things I'd like to do this episode. One of those is to dig out that big chasm that I talked about last episode. Just nice big mob fighting chasm, really. So we'll see how that turns out, but I definitely think we should do it. But there's a lot of cool stuff in the Elven Guard that we definitely want to get into. So why don't we take a look and see some of the things that we can potentially look into doing. Mostly regarding getting better mana spreaders. So maybe I should get some more wood down. So actually, one of the things that I forgot that I wanted was a Rod of the Shifting Crust. So why don't we do that? We're going to need a Rune of Sloth, which is pretty easy to make. It's just 2 diamonds, a Rune of Air, and a Rune of Autumn. So we just need to go out and get some leaves. And I've got my shears in here. So if we just run over, we'll need some leaves. And I think this tree looks like a good donor. So with those there, we should be good to go. Because the rest of our Rune of Autumn is just going to be a Spider Eye, and then Fire and Air. So this uses 2 air. But, if I remember correctly, making these runes doesn't actually use the sub-runes, if I remember. Or unless things have changed. So we'll see. We may have what we need, we may need more. But let's go ahead and grab ourselves some living rock, and we're also going to need, for this we needed 2 diamonds. Running a little bit low on diamonds now, but that's fine, we'll be okay. And then I also needed to grab some spruce wood so that I can get some more of our living wood, so that we can make some of the, whatever the or is it Dreamwood, I think? The Elven wood stuff. So, let's see, we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that'll give us that. It might take a little while, so yeah. And there we go, our Rod of the Shifting Crust. So this guy is going to take the place of this guy for sure, because to be fair, the swapping wand, while we just made it, it's definitely overpowered. Oh, good. I can make 48 whole RFs from this swapping wand. That's hilarious. Definitely not a good deal. But that's okay. We can also insert this in here if we wanted to, but I think, honestly, I'll be fine. I'll probably just leave it. But it's more like, the wand focus of equal trade from Thaumcraft, so I like it. I think it's a good balance. It looks like, for some reason, not all of our calculations here are working, so let's figure that out. Looks like we are still not outputting a signal, or we are, and it's simply not being received. I cannot tell. So let me see if I can figure that out. Let's see. So the repeater is off, and if I hook this up, the repeater is going to still be off. Okay, so in, out, no. Okay, let me grab a piece of redstone and see if it's just a matter of needing redstone, because we can probably just run redstone wire there, and that would be just fine. So fortunately, since we have our portal open. If you recall, the entire reason we even had the portal open... Okay, so we actually aren't emitting any power. How much power does this output without subtraction, then? 14 again. I've had this problem before, and I guess comparator output is just not what I expect it to be. So there, now we're getting a power signal of 1. Which might need to be repeated, so we might grab a repeater. And yeah, so the entire reason why we did the entire mana setup in the first place to get the Gaia portal open, or rather the Elven portal open, was because we wanted to get ourselves a Conjuration Catalyst. And the reason that I wanted to get a Conjuration Catalyst was because I need a better source of glowstone. Our nether is a really sparse source of glowstone right now, and so it would be probably very beneficial to have a much easier way of getting a hold of it. And on top of that, it's one of those things where I actually have a plan for a lot of glowstone. In fact, I have a big plan for later this episode. So last episode I talked about maybe building out a nice big underground area for managing some mob spawns, because we have peaceful surface installed, so we actually don't get any mob spawns, which is once again no problem for me, or to me, but it's definitely, you know, a factor to consider. Okay, here's my question. That required a block update. Why? If I break that... Is this just a visual issue? Or not? See, I don't trust this anymore. I might just run regular old redstone. Because I'm not really trusting this, to be honest. So... that's not really terribly difficult. I wonder why redstone conduit is acting kind of wonky. Never seen that before. Strange. Well, let's see. We'll just do a plain old redstone signal then. There we go. And so now I should be able to come over here, pick up this piece of coal, and boom, nothing is gonna drop because we've locked the dropper, because this guy over here is full. Beautiful. Very strange that the conduits weren't updating. I wonder if that's why these are acting funny. Or actually, they may be acting funny because I never set them to in out. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do that too, because I don't know why, but I've noticed that the engines here haven't been running either, or have been running even though they shouldn't be, which is fine, but they really are meant to not be running. So I'm not particularly sure what's up with that either. Maybe if I break this guy and replace him, we can test out some of that. Oh, well, I guess not. Alright, you have tree oil, but you're not running. Oh, good. These guys stopped running, too. Cool. Okay, so I guess that was it, is that I forgot to set those to in-out. Whoops. Now, as for why these weren't working earlier, no clue. Absolutely no idea. But once these guys burn through a little bit of fuel, you'll probably see that they're going to stop producing. And we will probably end up being okay. Now, that's the one we just placed, right? Cool. Excellent. So, back on focus. Sorry, a little bit distracted there by just some funny stuff. So, our endo flame should shut off here in a little while, now that we have pretty much 4 whole mana pools full of freaking mana, which is excellent. And we can put some of this stuff away now, because everything is all said and done. So, what I wanted to do is get ourselves the Conjuration Catalyst, and in fact, if we just look at the Britannia Catalyst, I want to get both of these. In fact, I need 2 of the first one. So we're going to need 4 blaze rods, which we just barely had. We're going to need some cobblestone, because we're going to need 2 of the alchemy catalysts, which means we're going to need 4 pieces of gold. And let's see. This is going to require a mana pearl, and that's also going to require a mana pearl, so we need 3 ender pearls. Uh-oh. Well, crud. How about this then? I think we can get a hold of some gas tiers easier than we can get a hold of an ender pearl. Maybe I should just run around and try to find a cave. Who knows? Let me figure that out. There we go. Just as I had hoped. Kind of been sitting down here in this cave that I found, or this ravine that I found, hoping to find an enderman, and finally found one. So that's nice. And that solves our ender pearl problem. Very nice. So there we go. We have everything I think we need. So why don't we hop over here and get to crafting, why don't we? So, we have, by the way, I think it's worth noting that early game, we've already got 5.5 mana pools worth of mana, or about 5.5. That's pretty impressive if you ask me. So, yeah, you know, I'd say that's pretty cool. So we're going to need one of these pixie dusts, and then for that, we're also going to need 2 of those, so we kind of had a plan. So, we'll toss this guy in there, and, oh, you know what? I forgot. This is a 2-to-1 recipe. So I actually needed more mana steel. Completely forgot that. Whoops. So we can toss these in here. That'll give us 3 of those. Now we can craft ourselves our 2 alchemy catalysts, and one of these will get turned into a boom, conjuration catalyst. Now I'm gonna put these underneath these 2 mana spreaders, or mana pools rather. So we'll have one there, and we'll have one here. Perfect. The beauty of this is that now, for my big glowstone project that I am purposefully keeping a little bit secretive, I can come over here and take our measly 21 glowstone and turn that into 42. I love this. This is such a good feeling. And that's about as much as we can handle, but look at that. Look at that. We went from 21 to, like, what was that? 3 and 1/8 stacks extra just from an entire pool of mana. That's pretty great. And the nice thing about having the alchemy catalyst is we can do the alchemy recipes now too. So there's a lot of really nice ones. This one, for example, we may end up using if we find ourselves needing more dragon eye, because, oh wait, there's a phytogenic insulator recipe for it. We might do that later then. Well, no, because it won't get us the dragon eyes. The dragon eyes from roots can be smelted into ender pearls. But maybe by then I'll have a different solution. But yeah, so taking a look at the uses for the alchemy catalyst, of course there's recipes to convert between logs, which is a fantastic little bit. We can unblock a lot of these things, so like smoky quartz, regular quartz, convert between the different stone brick types. Oh, snow to ice, that one I forgot about. The fish types, which I may end up using. I don't suppose there's a way to get blaze rods. No, I can turn blaze rods into nether wart, but not the other way around. Oh well. But yeah, so there's a lot of really useful and cool recipes in here that I'm personally quite a big fan of. And we can do redstone to glowstone and glowstone to redstone. So there's another method of getting glowstone, which is good because I'm going to do that one, I think. We have quite a lot of redstone. And I need quite a lot of glowstone. And the problem is, I've looked and looked and looked all through our nether, and I just cannot find any reasonable amount of glowstone to save my life. And it's kind of disappointing. Like, I can find some up on the roofs, but I can't get there without flying. And so it makes it darn near impossible to reach. That was actually very efficient on using mana. We might do that recipe more, because that's a lot better. yes, this plan that I'm considering is going to take probably about a stack of glowstone blocks. Um, it's not that it's a big build in complication, it's that it's a big build physically. So, I guess I'm probably just going to go ahead and get started with that. I'll turn some of these blocks back into dust again because I like to have some dust readily available. And can I turn this into a block of some variety? Probably not that I can convert back. No, it doesn't look like it. Oh well, whatever. So yeah, I think I might get started on said project and surprise you guys later because honestly, it's gonna be probably pretty cool, but pretty extensive. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we won't. But yeah, so let's get started, I guess. So there, see what I needed all that redstone for now? So the idea was that I wanted to make a mob farm, and I didn't want to do it in our typical Killer Joe style way, because I've done that a few times now. I've done it on Ford Serve, and I've done it on my last single player, so I wanted to do something very, very different, and I think this definitely would qualify as very, very different. So if we hop down here, you can see that we have our mob spawner, and I can turn it on or off based on the status of that lever. And the nice thing is, oh boy, it seems to be getting me lots of bats. Oh well, that's just one of the downsides of a dark room, I guess. Honestly though, what we could do to resolve this is let those guys stay there, and here, I have a plan. This is kind of a little bit third wall breaky, but that's okay. Not that we're trying to, like, fake a certain life or whatever here, but what if we let these guys either despawn? Because the nice thing about this is, you might be thinking, well, won't it spawn spiders? My roommate Josh brought that up, and while you're not wrong, you're not right either. It's going to spawn spiders, but the upside, we'll capture that guy. The upside of this setup is that cursed earth mobs will spawn, but then after a certain amount of time, they will despawn. See, that zombie's gone. He was aggroed on me like crazy, but now he's almost immediately gone. So that's pretty nice. Now, I went ahead, even though I don't think I'm going to be making an angel ring, I went ahead and grabbed myself a bat lasso. And so now we're going to the mod options, and VTweaks has a feature for disabling bats, because, quite frankly, I hate bats, and I still do. Disable bat spawning, true. And now those bats will stay alive, but no future bats will spawn. Solution created. Plus, I really don't need bats for anything except for this one drop, because, well, let's face it, no one ever uses bats for anything. I think the only other thing is there's the bat wings, the wing of the bats, but by the time I get around to making one of these, I could have made several other flying solutions, which would have been much more fun. So we'll just leave it at that. And yeah, so the mob drops have actually been very successful. We have to come up with a way of sorting these things, but you can see we've already gotten several stacks of loot. And in the little short clip it speedrun thing that I made, I also went and ran amok to grab the basic drawer here. So we've actually got the drawer from upstairs down here now, and it has all of our solidified experience being captured for us, because that's one cool thing about the experience solidifier, is that it will actually capture nearby experience entities and turn them into the item. So that's how we're picking up our XP. That's why I used golden spikes, is because I still wanted to get the XP. I could care less about player-only drops, to be honest. So yeah, I think it worked out pretty nicely. And now we have something that we can just leave running pretty much all the time, because it's your typical cursed earth spawner. And we're in good shape. So yeah, that's some pretty cool stuff if you ask me. I don't know what you guys might think of it, but let me know in the comments for sure if you think this was a kind of creative design. The reason I did the upward elevator in the center, by the way, was because of blizzes. I could have done a drop, but the blitz or blizz or whichever variant of thermal foundation blaze entity that spawns, they're very difficult to manage. And you see that spider disappeared because of that short despawn timer. Pretty cool. But yeah, so they're very hard to manage. Most flying entities are. But this elevator manages them very nicely. So I think it's a cool solution for sure. So, like I said, this leaves us lots of mob drops, and it also leaves us a control mechanism, because as soon as we turn that lever on, boom, we're done spawning. We're not spawning anything anymore. So, you know how I was talking about how I should probably make a trash can? Now is the time that I think I'm going to make a trash can. So we've got cobblestone and stone. And just a few pieces of, or just a single chest, rather. Boom, trash can. And this will give us a means of getting rid of all of this stuff, because we do have quite a lot of stuff here that we're going to end up not even caring about. But we've already gotten a few blitz rods, so that's a cool form of getting niter as well, as you can see. I don't know if this is exactly what I would call a reliable source of niter, but it actually might be, considering the biome that we live in. We've already gotten a few ender pearls, and it looks like a witch or two have come by too. So, pretty cool stuff. One thing I forgot to mention was that down here, I moved my red string comparator to compare on this mana pool. That way, when this mana pool gets full, the system shuts off. Because I realized that the way I had it running before was that if this one gets full, it shuts off. But the thing is I'm not draining this one for much of anything. I'm mostly draining these two. And if I drain this one but not this one, I still want it to get refilled. So that solves that problem. I'm not sure what I was thinking before. So something particularly odd is that I just came back from a mining trip, and I wanted to give this a try because I noticed there were a few cases where this worked that I didn't think it was going to work. The Pulverizer's JEI implementation seems to be a little bit late on grabbing all of these recipes, because look, uranium just worked, and fun fact, black quartz also works. So this is great because this means we don't have to have a multitude of machines like I had originally thought. It's also just a little bit confusing, but yeah, just a small little tidbit. So I was just in the middle of doing some little housekeeping. I was killing a bunch of the cows, and I broke my sword. And if you recall, we're using the demonic sword blade. So I was gonna repair it, and then I remember that there is this bug where you cannot repair with demon ingot. But, you know, while I could be seen as a huge downside, I'm actually looking at it more as an opportunity to change out anyways. Because while I like Tinker's Construct tools, especially for early game, once you get to a point like the one that we're at now, where we've actually got automation of experience, we have automation of mob drops, which, by the way, I moved my ender pearls over here, but holy cow at the ender pearls, and we're going to need something new for leather as well. We're going to need, we should probably just set up a drawer or a double drawer somewhere, but yeah, we're doing really great on storage, but our problem, or rather on, not storage, but on items, but our problem is storage, and we'll look into that later. But back to the original topic at hand is I have no sword. So I was working on this one, and I think I'm going to use it. This one is a ender, which will accept some experience and some power. And what we can do is a handful of things. First of all, it takes a proportion, a very small proportion, but a portion of energy to do its damage. But it also will take some damage just as far as, it's not normal damage, it is, gosh, I am lost for words today. It'll take RF damage, but it'll also take normal damage, I guess is how I should have phrased that. So the problem there, of course, is that after a while, our sword is going to get damaged. So what we can do is a few things. First of all, we can increase the capacitor level on it, which is sort of twofold, because we also want to find one of these capacitors that we can replace in our machine here, because we already made a double layer capacitor, so why worry about it? That one looks good. So we can run upstairs and add that, but it also means that we can consolidate our tools a little bit. So we have the Staff of Traveling that I've always used this thing. I love it. But there's a few things that we can do. So I got a Sharpness 3 book earlier. We have Sharpness 3 on here, so this will get us a Sharpness 4. And then we can do this to get us to Empowered 2. And then it's going to cost 8 levels to get to Empowered 3. That's no problem. We'll just grab a stack of these, or a few stacks of these. And we can run over here. And that's going to get us up to... boom, Empowered 3. So this is going to hold 250,000 RF. And right now it has... it's doing just fine on durability, but there's a few things that we can do to help with that. First of all, of course, would be an Unbreaking book. And the second would be what I'm thinking, what I have in mind is instead of Unbreaking particularly, which we could do, I think it's just Obsidian. In fact, we could definitely do that. We'll grab some Obsidian, and we're going to need 2 books with 2 quills. So let's see, do I have any black? Yes, I do. Cool. Exactly 2 feathers. Because I also want to get a Mending book. So Mending is going to be... let's see, Mending is going to be the Experience Rod and a lot of XP. So we're going to need some Solarium. I think I grabbed some Soul Sand at some point. Yes, I did. Good. We're also going to need 1 Energetic Alloy, so we can go ahead and grab what we need for it as well. So this isn't going to be the biggest deal. In fact, honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to doing this. We've got these 2 extra demon ingots. I'm just going to toss them in this chest. Oh, not this chest. This chest. The right chest. The ingots chest. And so now we can craft ourselves the experience rod, which we never really used, but this is just an alternative method of storing experience in Ender IO. And so, in order to get ourselves unbreaking, we needed 18 levels. That was perfect. And then to get mending, we need 21. So now, if I wanted to apply, we'll do unbreaking first. It's going to cost 4 levels. And then to go to mending is going to cost 5. So we're going to have sharpness 4, XP boost 3, unbreaking 3, mending, which means that if I damage a mob with this guy, it's going to keep itself, I guess, somewhat repaired. I don't know. It'll be nice though. It'll keep itself repaired using mending because we'll get XP boost, meaning we'll get extra XP. It'll pick up the XP, repair itself, so that'll handle the damage part. The RF part's going to be handled for now by the battery in my inventory, which you can see is already drained substantially because it's had to refill this a few times. Now, the flip side here is, first of all, we don't have looting yet on it. We can handle that with another book, but I don't have the feathers, so I'm going to need to handle a few feathers, which shouldn't be a big deal, actually. And the other thing, though, is that we can always put an ender crystal on here. All I need is an enderman in a soul vial, which that part is a bit tricky. So we're going to have to see if we can do this, because the ender crystal itself, like I said, is going to require that enderman, and I don't know that we can get a hold of him too easily. It's going to be a little rough, no lie. So let me see what I can handle by means of that, but we'll go ahead and get the soul vial at least. So I think I already had some fused quartz from earlier where I accidentally crafted it. And we can get our soul vial. So, the upside of doing this, the reason that I'd like to do this is because I plan on doing RF tools anyways. I plan on doing RF consuming tool items anyways, because in the end, we have Redstone Arsenal, and I love Redstone Arsenal. It's great. Let's see if we can get this guy out of here, and then I'm going to take him down. Perfect. So I'm going to head over to the Nether. And the reason I'm choosing the Nether is because it seems like it's usually the best place to find an Enderman reliably. For me at least, because of course my peaceful surface is going to somewhat inhibit that ability. So I'll be back once I've found my guy. Interestingly enough, this isn't an Enderman of course, but I forgot that since we don't have RF Tools dimensions, we found dimensional shard ore here in the Nether. So, you know, just a little something interesting. There we go. So we'll pick this guy up, and now I'm going to be spending the next 30 minutes or so trying to figure out how to get home. Cool, so I'm back, but there's a few things that I need to do, a few little asides of mine. First thing is that I need to make a framing table. So why don't we get one of those, and I believe the trim is made with just some sticks. Okay, no problem. And so I'm going to make a custom drawer real quick. I know we were working on some other stuff, and don't worry, I haven't just kind of given up on that. I still plan on doing it. I just need to do this first. So framing table gets us that. We'll have some extra trim, but that's okay. I think I'll just put that over here in my building chest. And I wanted to grab these stone bricks that I have because we'll put the framing table, and you know what? We'll put a few things upstairs. There's not much upstairs, but there's plenty downstairs, so we might just move a few things upstairs. So we'll put the framing table, I don't know, here, and then we can put this guy right next to it. That kind of seems like it works, right? And then we can go ahead and put that in the corner like I tend to, and we'll put that there. So the reason I did this, of course, is because I want to make a framed storage drawer, which is not going to be very hard at all if I just knew how to craft. So we want, in fact, we actually want to make ourselves probably one of the double drawers, I would think. And I forgot how they worked. Oh, it's a plank. Whoops. There we go. So this will get us a framed 2x2 drawer. And I want to make this one for my leather. And you know what? I'm also going to make another one. See, this is going to use that. Perfect. So this will actually work out because we want to have one for our wool. I'm just kind of thinking ahead, you know? So we'll have a frame drawer for that as well. Now I've got to mess with the design a little bit because I'm not particularly certain how I want to lay these out. But let me see. Ooh, that actually looks kind of cool. But I'm thinking more along the lines of just using this for the trim and these two, perhaps. I'm trying to think of something that'll match out there. Oh, I'm not even using this. I'm using andesite bricks. Whoops. Well, let me see what I can come up with. So how about something like this? And in fact, I'm going to take a screenshot because I want to remember what it is that I'm using later down the road. So we'll do one like that and we'll do one like this. And this will give us some extra storage for sure, which we definitely need. So we'll go ahead and stick one of these drawers. This one will be for... Actually, why don't we put them here? Why don't we do leather here and wool there. And we'll just keep those around for whenever we want to do farming. And what I might do is also put up a third drawer. In fact, we could do it right now because I've got everything that we need for it. We'll do a third drawer for whenever we want to breed. So this is where I will put our wheat and other stuff. But my inventory is stuffed, so probably not a good idea right now. So let's at least take that and that, boom, and then we'll have our wheat and seeds in there. And then just really quickly, I've been meaning to consolidate these two. There we go. And now we can take our wool from our building chest over here and transfer it. So that gives us stuff that we can transfer around a little bit. Clean up our huge mess of stuff, because we do have quite a lot of stuff right now. We're kind of getting to that point where we might want to start looking into a better storage system of some variety, because we're kind of exceeding the capacity of that which can be held by crates. And you know what? I think I'm going to hold steak out here instead of just beef. And I don't know how much these will hold. I know this will hold, but I don't know how much this will hold. So if it ends up running out, then we can definitely upgrade that. But for now, I think that's a good place to stop that portion. And I think that will not stop that portion, but you know, I think we've gotten enough done with our storage out there. That way we can keep some of our mob drops localized to that special little area. So now, my next concern is this. First of all, I put all my steak out here. That's my first concern. My next concern after that is that we grab the Enderman soul, but we don't have a soul binder for it, which is definitely a crucial part of using this soul which we captured. So it's going to require the soul binder. If you've watched my previous Let's Plays, then you already know what this entails, but if you have not, then you might know that we're once again in trouble. We needed a Enderman and Creeper and Zombie and Skeleton Skull, and we lack 2 of those. Fortunately, it's a lot easier to get ourselves an Enderman head and a Skeleton head with our farm. We just need to come up with a way of sort of funneling them together. So I might just sit at the farm and kind of redesign it in such a way that we can get our Enderman a little bit easier. So I think I'll do that because it's going to be really, really, really boring. And I'll be back once we have our Enderman head and our Skeleton Skull. So that took a little while, but we finally got the head that we needed, and now we can actually use these for a variety of things. But of course, our biggest concern is to be able to use it for our soul binder. So we'll get right on that just as soon as I fix up the big hole that I made to kind of make farming possible. I should fix this. So there we go. I cleaned up that one spot where I, like I said, had been sitting there farming up the mobs that were coming up. That took a very, very long time. But here we go. We're going to cook up the solarium, and this is going to get us everything that we need to make ourselves the... Where is it? There we go. The soul binder. So this will be one of the higher end... Actually, I should probably do it here so that I can look up the recipe. Soul binder. Because I always forget the skull order. There we go. So this will be one of the machines that we're going to use for Ender IO probably regularly, depending on what all we're doing. Now, one thing is we're going to obviously need to run some power cables over, so why don't we do that, since we have none on this side. And that should be the end of that. So, I made 2 spots because I imagine that at some point we will have... Whoops. I imagine that at some point we're going to have ourselves a slice and splice as well. In fact, probably very soon. But we're going to start with the soul binder because I really want to finish up this episode by getting ourselves the... well, is it? It's not prescient. The ender crystal. There we go. So we need a vibrant crystal. And the vibrant crystal is a vibrant alloy. So let's see, we're going to need an emerald, and we're going to need a piece of redstone and glowstone, and an ender pearl. So fortunately, the capacitor that we have in here is actually very fast, so this recipe does not take long to smelt anymore. And so now we can just toss this recipe together real quick. And let me just put that there. And we can go ahead and do this. So it's going to require 6 levels. I've only got 2. There we go. I meant to put that away. We can use player XP, and this should be fulfilled. One other thing we can do is grab another one of these capacitors. I'll have to grab... I usually grab them all because I never know which ones are going to work. Some of these work, some of these don't. Like that one, dead. This one works. And that gets us the ender crystal we need. And how many levels? 16 levels are required to get this all the way up to a point that we can get this added to the sword. So, there we go. 16 levels. Hop upstairs one more time. And now we have travel. And now we no longer need our staff of traveling. We can just use our sword, which is pretty great. So, I think that's going to call it an episode. We have definitely gotten some decent stuff done this episode, and with our visit to the, well, not visit, but rather our creation and fulfillment of the portal to Alfheim, we now have access to a few nice little Britannia things. I think I'm going to continue to use the Ender Sword. I'm not sure what I'll use for my other weaponry, but I'll figure that out once we get there. But until then, it's nice to have at least the sword. And the last thing is, of course, we have mending on it, so I can easily repair it just like that. So I will go ahead and leave it there. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you guys next time.